I had 2 Pfizer shots. Within days of taking my Moderna shot, I had episodes of paralysis. A little while after that, I could not move from the neck down. I was completely quadriplegic. They sent me to the hospital. First doctor comes in. I tell him this is right after my COVID vaccine. And he says, well, I don't think there's anything wrong with you. I think this is psychiatric. He said many people think that the COVID vaccine does this to them. And it was all in my head. And I asked him when I would get better. And he said when I wanted to. I knew that wasn't it. And that's when the neurologist came in and said, we ruled out everything. He goes, it's my gut impression right now that it's from your COVID vaccine. And I said, have you seen this before? He goes, yes, many, many times.
On today's Alix Mayer Show, I bring you the heartbreaking story of Kayla Pollock, a quadriplegic since she got her Moderna booster in Canada. And instead of providing the services she needed, the wheelchair, the daily care, they realized the system was inadequate to help her, and the Canadian government offered her medical assistance in dying instead. In other words, the MAID program. You need to hear Kayla's story to understand what can happen if you don't know about the dangers of vaccination before you get one. Please share this very special episode with everyone you know. Kayla said that if this just helps one person, her life still has a purpose. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and please leave a note of encouragement for Kayla. And if you're moved and if you have the means, please donate to help Kayla survive. We have a link to her donation page in the show notes. The Alix Mayer Show interviews guests with vaccine injuries, so if you'd like to be interviewed, please reach out to us at team@freenowfoundation.org. That's TEAM@FREENOW foundation.org. We'd love to hear from you. The Alix Mayer Show is sponsored by MISH International, gold and silver specialists since 1963. When you need protection from monetary inflation and leveraged assets exposure, you contact the dedicated people at MISH International. MISH International, a family business, offers true expertise, integrity, reliability, and fair pricing of gold and silver. Visit their website at mishinternational.com. That's MISH international.com. Kayla Pollock, welcome to the Alix Mayer Show. Thank you so much for joining us today. I've admired you from afar. I've admired your grit, your determination, and your positive attitude, given everything that's happened to you since you got that Moderna shot. So it's my great pleasure to welcome you today.
Thanks so much for having me, and congratulations on your show becoming so popular so quickly.
Oh, thank you. I think you're probably way more popular than my show, but not for the right reasons,
Not a
right?
popularity we wanted.
No, it's not a popularity you wanted at all. So, no. Kayla, can you tell people briefly what your situation is now so they know what's going on with your health right now briefly, and then we'll go back to what your life was like before you became a quadriplegic. And then I really want to go into detail about what your day-to-day is like right now.
So as of right now, I am currently paralyzed from the chest down. I also have paralysis in 3 of my fingers and the sides of my arms. And unfortunately, I'm also left with the feeling. So even though I'm paralyzed from the waist down, I still have all the feeling. So when, you have like restless leg at night and you really want to move it or something, I can feel that. I can feel pain, but I can't do anything about it. I'm catheterized, meaning that I pee in a bag because I have lost control of bowel and bladder function. I lost my home. I lost my job. My son was 7 at the time, and because of the severity of my injury, I had to give primary custody to his father, and I ended up having to move away so I could find somewhere wheelchair accessible. So that's been the greatest loss, is being a mother away from your kid that you saw every day. Thankfully, his father and I have a great relationship, and I still see my son lots. He's 11 now, but it's not the same as seeing him every day and working at his school and things like that. But that's kind of a brief indication of where I'm at as of this moment medically.
Okay, thanks for describing. Those are devastating circumstances, and I get how the loss of having your son with you every day is the biggest hit. Even though everything we can see, most people would assume that your physical condition is the worst thing. It's the emotional toll that this is taking also that's worse, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, Kayla, what was your life like before you got this Moderna shot, and why did you have to get it?
So before my Moderna shot, I actually had a great career. I worked with exotic animals. So I worked with lions, parrots, servals, wolves, bears, you name it. I've worked with it, reptiles. I ended up, I used to advocate for people with um, I used to train service dogs on the side, and I would advocate for people who needed service dogs and the fact that they weren't being allowed into places. So I was able to appear in 2010 alongside the dog whisperer Cesar Millan. So he was pretty famous at the time, and he was the one that was on Oprah and working with Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith's dogs. And, he was a pretty big deal at the time. So in front of 19,000 people, I got on stage with a microphone. And he handed me the microphone, and I started my advocacy work, I would say probably then. But that had nothing to do with now. And then I ended up deciding that, those type of animals were probably a bit dangerous after having a child. So I ended up deciding that I would work with kindergarten children instead. And let me tell you, the kindergarten children actually bit more. So I ended up working with kids that had disabilities and things like that. So I absolutely loved my job.
Wow.
My life was good. Like I said, I saw my son every day. I worked 500 meters from my work, so I could walk to and from work. And I, yeah, I had a good thing going.
It really sounds like you did. You're on an upward trajectory and doing what you loved
Yeah.
and making a big difference in the world. And it's really neat that you started that advocacy work so long ago before this even happened to you. So
Yeah, it's interesting.
it really is. Sometimes
Mhm.
things happen in our lives and we don't know why they happen. And then
Exactly.
then it becomes clear later. So, Kayla, did you have to get a shot? You're in Canada, and did you have to get a shot for your job with the kindergartners?
It wasn't just for my job. My father was dying in long-term care, and he did die in long-term care of frontal lobe dementia, which is what Bruce Willis is going through right now.
I'm
And
sorry.
so in order to see him, you had to be tested every time you went in, and you also had to be vaccinated. And I was before this, I had well-controlled type 1 diabetes. And so in Canada, in Ontario, where I was anyway, in Canada, um, they were saying that if you were type 1 diabetic or diabetic in general, that you were more likely to die from COVID because they were conditions where there weren't enough respirators. It was this big crisis. And I didn't know at the time. I was 35 years old. I had a 7-year-old son. I was working, doing all those things. And I had no idea that our media was censored, that our media had anything to do with our government. I didn't know. And so when people say, well, we told you so, I wasn't on X. I mean, I had a Twitter account that I opened when I was a teenager. And I'm like, why do people want to write one word or two sentences on a platform like this is stupid? And so I never used it. I
Yeah.
was a teenager. It was all about Facebook back then. And so I never used it. So I didn't start using it until this happened in 2022, but I think I opened it in like 2012. But I never used it. There was no post. I just had one
Yeah.
because I looked at it and I'm like, this makes no sense. People are writing a sentence or two.
So it was a
I didn't
total
get it.
blackout in terms of any people who were
Absolutely.
warning about COVID
Mhm.
shot dangers. Like you heard nothing.
Nothing. No, nothing. Everybody around me was getting them. Um, I had my best friend at the time was an ex-nurse. Her husband was a paramedic. Um, my ex wanted me to to get them as well. Like I mean, I also was scared. I didn't want to die from this. I mean, I remember like the 1918. Not that I'm that old, but I remember researching in school all about the 1918 flu pandemic. And I kind of thought that was what this was,
Yeah.
that like, half the world was going to die and I didn't want to be one of them. I had a son to raise. That's really how I felt. So in asking, why did you get these shots and what made you do it? And why didn't you listen to us? I never had any problem with people that didn't want to get the vaccine. I had a couple friends that were super religious. They didn't choose to want to get the vaccine, and I was still good friends with them. I still am good friends with them. She just told me once, she said, I believe that, God gave me a number of days to be on this earth, and that when it's my time, it's my time. I respected that. I really respect people's choice and ability to choose what's best for themselves. And hindsight is 2020 for me, but we're still friends. It didn't ruin our friendship. I didn't tell her to put a mask on and not come around me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was safe. I never had COVID. I never had any symptoms. And I was tested at school every day. And I was tested at my father's long-term care facility. So we know the tests might not have been accurate anyway, but I never had any symptoms or had COVID. I never came back positive, but um, that's why I took it.
Got it. Did anyone ever talk to you later about type 1 diabetes being a vaccine injury?
I figured out a lot about that after, but that was it. Yeah, it was. There's a lot of different autoimmune theories for type 1 diabetes and and all of that. So I had an idea of that, but I mean, again, hindsight is 2020, and you sort of go down the rabbit holes after.
Yeah. And that's what I struggle with, Kayla. I'm always, for 30 years, I've tried to educate people about this stuff. And it's always me trying to find that teaching moment where somebody will get it before they have something physically bad happen to them. And I'm
Yeah,
almost universally unsuccessful in that. Even people who have the
I
benefit of
understand that.
hearing me, they just don't want to believe it.
I guess with me, because of the lawsuit I have against Moderna, and because I have two different neurologists on, I have them on audio recording, and all my medical files say that it was a result of the COVID vaccine. I guess because I've put all my information out there publicly, and because you can see that I'm vaccine injured, where someone looking at you might not see it, so they just assume that you're full of crap. And
Exactly.
I think that it's given me a unique opportunity where I came to a decision in my life one day where I looked up and I'm like, why did this happen to me? Like, why me? Like, I've already been through enough. I went through years of abuse as a child, like really bad things. And why did this happen to me after all of these, other things that I'd gotten over? And the answer was because you still have a voice and you're not afraid to use it.
Mm.
And so you have a purpose, and people will look at you and think, oh my gosh. And I when people meet me in person, I've never had someone say, yeah, right. I've had people be like, oh, seriously, or I knew it was bad, or look at all the people that I've never had someone say it to my face that I was faking, or that, I live in a small town, people see me all the time. And actually I get noticed quite often, probably because of the wheelchair.
Yeah.
And people are like, I follow you all the time, or I've been following your story for years. So I'm hoping that there's been at least one person who hasn't taken their boosters or done something because of my story, or who at least realizes, even if they're going to take them, that there are risks that they don't talk about. And also just the healthcare advocacy that I do aside from it, because I'm in Canada and we're supposed to have free healthcare, and it's supposed to be, we have this socialized healthcare program that everyone thinks is wonderful. And, this happens to me and they offer me medical assistance in dying.
We want to get into that for sure, because you're in Canada and they have this MAID program, medical assistance in dying. But I want to back up first, and I want people to understand what happened to you after you got the Moderna shot. Did it happen after your first dose, your second dose? What were your early symptoms? And what did the first doctors say? And then what do your doctors say now?
So I do have an ongoing lawsuit, so I can't discuss exact dates and times. But what I can say is that I had two Pfizer shots and had nothing. And then within days of taking my Moderna shot, my legs gave out and I had episodes of paralysis. I talked to my doctor and he said because they had resolved, that if I'd gone to my local hospital, that they wouldn't have done any tests based on the current state of Ontario's healthcare problems in Canada, and also that it would take a couple of years for me to see a neurologist because I was walking, because I didn't have any other injuries. He said we can get you in to see one, but it's going to be 2 years. And at
Unbelievable.
that point in time, a little while after that, I went to bed after we had hiked the day before. Like no injuries or anything. I went to bed, and in the morning I literally woke up and I could not move from the neck down. I was completely quadriplegic, completely paralyzed. And because I had been used to working with exotic animals, I went into triage mode. So it didn't emotionally impact me at all. I went into, okay, what needs to be done first? Remember, I trained service dogs. So my dog was trained as a service dog, even if he wasn't being used as one. I don't know why I woke up that early, because I had to go to school that day and take a coworker's shift. So I needed to be up around, let's say 7:30, but it was around 5 a.m. And I just told the dog to go get my boyfriend over and over. And he would go down the stairs and then he'd stop and he'd come back up the stairs. And I'm like, no, go get him. He'd go down the stairs, he'd come back up. And I'm like, he's not listening. What am I going to do? He's going to go to work. I'm going to be stuck here. And you know what? He came up and he said, I don't know why the dog's acting weird. And then I was able to tell him what was going on. I said, call the neighbor who's a nurse. She came over and I said, call 911. I'm quadriplegic. I knew he didn't know what that meant. They came, they strapped me to a backboard. They put me in an ambulance. They sent me to the hospital. First doctor comes in, takes the backboard off. I tell him this is right after my COVID vaccine. And he says, well, I don't think there's anything wrong with you. I think this is psychiatric. And he left me in a hallway by myself.
Stop.
On a psych, waiting for a psych consult. He said, many people think that the COVID vaccine does this to them. And it was all in my head. And I asked him when I would get better. And he said, when I wanted to, when I would move again. And he said, when I wanted to.
I am infuriated.
I knew this is very common in Canada. I knew that wasn't right. And I knew that wasn't it. And so while I'm waiting there, I have no pain. I just can't move. All of a sudden I get this excruciating pain in my neck and I start screaming. And the nurses are telling me to shut the F up. I'm in the hallway because there's no rooms. And because I'm just that psych patient waiting on a bed, right? So
and now you're screaming.
The next thing you know, they're putting an IV in, and I look up and I'm going, that's morphine that they're giving me. You don't give a psych patient morphine when they're in pain.
No.
You'd be like giving them some sort of sedative to shut them up. That's when I knew that they knew that this was not a psychiatric. I knew that the doctor had passed it on because he'd be off shift by then. It wasn't his responsibility. So he passed the buck, basically.
Wow.
He basically made it so that I wasn't his responsibility for his shift. His name is Dr. Peter Law. And he works at South Lake Regional Health Center, in case anyone wants to know.
How do you spell his last name?
Peter, Peter, last name Law, Law.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Kayla, I am shocked. And I just
he put me on the cycle, and then, or it wasn't a cycle, it was psych assessment. I get the morphine. My boyfriend's finally allowed in after he tells them he's my husband. And then I tell him, put my finger on record, and anytime anyone comes in the room, record everything. And that's when I had somebody come in the room just before that and say, I don't believe any of this is in your head. I think you have something seriously wrong with you. I have a friend who's a radiologist. He's at home. He's willing to read your scans if I get you in there right now. So it took a couple of hours to get the scans done. Immediately after, he came out and he said, yeah, this is not in your head at all. My spinal cord was completely swollen from T2 all the way to C2, which is your cervical spine, which was millimeters away from my breathing. And it would have meant I was on a trach for the rest of my life.
It just missed
then
your
the neurologist
diaphragm.
came in.
Yeah.
The neurologist came in and he said that we have it on recording. He said, we ruled out MS, we ruled out infection, we ruled out COVID, we ruled out all cancer, we ruled out everything. He goes, we have to still rule out that it's a mass, but he's like, I'm going to tell you right now, it doesn't look like a mass. It's my gut impression right now that it's from your COVID vaccine. And I would recommend you either take the steroids and get back what you can. But if you do have cancer, the steroids will make it grow faster and it could be worse. He goes, but I believe this is a vaccine injury, and my personal opinion is take the steroids. And I said, have you seen this before? Knowing he was being recorded, I said this. He goes, yes, many, many times.
He did?
Now, he ended up, yep. And he ended up moving to Dubai because he was so done with Canada's healthcare system and the way they treat their doctors. But he's still willing to testify. It's all on recording. It's all in my doctor's notes. So that's not a problem.
Wow. He was your angel. After you met a monster, you met an angel. And so I am assuming you took the steroids and that's why you regained partial function,
exactly. Right? I regained. It took 6 months before I was able to even move my hands at all. I couldn't hug my son. I couldn't eat by myself. I still can't shower by myself. I can't get dressed by myself. I can't go to the bathroom by myself. I can't do anything. Like I can't do my own laundry. I can't cook. All the things that you think that you would not miss doing, you miss doing them. And so I'm completely dependent on the help of the system in order to come in and support me with having people come in to, I guess you would say, physically get me in and out of bed and things like that. They're called personal support workers. And the problem was I went to the hospital to say, like, they're not showing up. I've been left in bed for 3 days now. I'm in so much pain.
What?
I'm getting bed sores. I'm type 1 diabetic. They're opening up, and that could kill you. You could get sepsis from that and die.
Yes, you
That's
can.
how a lot of quadriplegics die. And that's when they recommended medical assistance in dying the first time.
Okay, wait, go. I want to work up to this. So in the first 6 months you were in bed and unable to move, people just failed to show up for 3 days in a row, or is this more recent?
It was right when I got, for the first 6 months, I was still in the hospital in rehab. So I came out of the hospital after about 6 months, came home, and the first week I had no one showing up. Or they would sit in their cars in the driveway. They'd clock in their hours and they wouldn't come in the house. That was a common thing that they were doing back in that period of time.
Are you kidding?
Nope, I'm not kidding.
Why? Why would they do that?
Very common. Because it was too much work. I'm not kidding. It's been a problem that they're getting paid and they don't care. They didn't care. A lot of people were in it for the wrong reasons. There are some wonderful personal support workers, but I'm going to tell you right now, we lost most of them during COVID.
Wow. Wait, what do you mean you lost most of them during COVID?
We lost most of them. They left the field. We lost lots of nurses, lots of doctors, lots of personal support workers because they couldn't take the burden, the stress, the bureaucracy that was going on during that time, and they had to exit out.
So these workers,
for their own mental health.
Okay, Kayla. So these workers would come to your house, and they weren't afraid of COVID at this point. They just didn't want to work, so they sat in your driveway. When did you first realize that they were actually outside your house?
When the neighbors kept telling me that they were sitting in the driveway, and they ended up recording the people sitting in the driveway for the full hour, and then sending it to me, so I had proof. So I took it to the hospital. And that was, like I said, that was when they first offered me medical assistance in dying.
And what was their reasoning to offer you medical assistance in dying? Like what?
Well, I asked for help, and and they said, okay, well, we'll let you talk to the social worker. So I thought that was great. I was going to talk to the social worker and get help, but unfortunately, they didn't have any help. They didn't have any more supports. And so that was the answer that they had. And so I started emailing the person that they had given me the contact for medical assistance dying. I started filling out the forms. And when it got to the part where it asked, or it basically, you were signing that you realized that it could be done within 90 days. I was like, I cannot say goodbye to my son in 90 days.
Okay, Kayla, I'm going to stop you right there. Back up. What convinced you to start filling out those forms, first of all? And then second of all, tell me if you agree with this statement. The Canadian healthcare system is so inadequate that they're offering MAID to people because they can't help them?
That's that was it. There was nowhere for me to go. There were no treatment options and there was no support. So because I didn't have family or friends that could help me, that was it. That was the only thing. So that was like this wonderful option that I had. And what else was I supposed to do?
Did they paint it as a wonderful option? And how did,
Yes,
really? And did,
absolutely. Yeah, because you were dying with dignity.
really? And did you buy that for a little while until you got to that
Yes.
section? Really?
And
I mean,
yes.
I can't say it.
Until my son said to me, he said, Mom, do we have do we have it where we can give needle? He was 7. He said, do we have it where we can put people to sleep like we put our pets to sleep? Because our dog had just been put down. And I said, well, they have it in some countries, honey, thinking that's all he's gonna ask. And he goes, do they have it in Canada? And I'm like, they do. And he goes, why would someone do that? So I said to him, imagine that you were a mom and you were dying of a terminal illness like cancer and you were in a lot of pain. And I've really made the case for it and said, like, you wanted to be with your kids and your family and go peacefully. I'm all for people choosing that if they want to. I don't think it's up to me to decide what you should or shouldn't do, but I'm completely against being coerced into it. And he said to me, he said, Mom, don't you think it's up to God when you die? And at the age of 7, I just kind of was like, that's a really good point, honey. And the conversation ended there.
He's a wise, wise young man. Wow.
Yep. I
So,
sat him down at that same age to say, like, mommy has to pee in this bag now, and mommy might have to wear like briefs in case she has a bowel accident. And he goes, Mom, I used to pee and poop in my diapers all the time, and you still love me. It's not a big deal. You're my mom. And then he just like walked away like it was nothing. And I sat him down for like this formal adult discussion, thinking it was going to be devastating.
do you think his words saved your life when he said that
Yes.
about God?
Yeah.
Wow.
It
And
also, I sat him down and I said, um, you know, if mommy goes public with what happened to her, I can see it going very, very, very big. And that could be good, but it could also be really bad. And he goes, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, think about it as if you're like Taylor Swift. I said, lots of people buy her music and she makes lots of money and she has fun doing her job and she has purpose in her life. But then there's all these comments saying that she's fat or saying she can't sing, and she reads them and then she actually thinks she's fat and it gave her an eating disorder. And I don't know how I would handle that. And he said to me, Mom, if you don't tell your story, then other people won't know that it could happen to them. And then that was when I decided, like, you know what, I'm all in. And I think it was about a week later, I told my story. And that was 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now.
that's incredible. Your son is so wise, and I'm so
Yeah,
happy he's still in your life. I wish he were in your life more and every day like he was before. And I pray
me
that
too.
that happens again for you. You're making me cry. Um, so you stopped filling out this MAID application, and you never filled it out again. And then did you have to go tell like a social worker or somebody else in the system that you were definitely not going to choose that?
No, I was offered it 2 more times after that. And
You,
I just said no
why were you offered it 2 more times?
because I had to go to the hospital once for urinary tract infection and once for something to do with I don't recall exactly what it was. I had an ulcer, a bed sore from being left in bed too long, and or even sitting in my chair too long. You figure I sit in the same spot in the same position in a chair for 15 hours a day.
My God. And
I
you're
mean, I just tell someone if they want to imagine what it feels like, get someone to duct tape you to a bed or a chair and leave you there for 15 hours and see what hurts. If you really want to just be in my world for a little bit of time,
Yeah,
do
everything would
that.
hurt.
If you
Everybody,
have to go to the bathroom, you pee your pants. If you have to poop, poop them.
mm,
Just sit there and be alone while you're doing it all.
everybody needs to hear
Do it
this.
like that.
People have no idea what it's like to be to
They have
be in your
no
shoes
idea.
right now. They have no idea.
I miss cutting the grass. I miss my job. Um, I miss the dog that saved my life. Um, we had to lose him because he was a Great Dane, and the workers refused to come in just because of his size. And he was a service dog. He was legally trained. I mean, I worked with lions. Like he wasn't. He's a gentle giant, a Great Dane. He didn't even bark. But they looked at him, and he was this big harlequin, black and white Great Dane, and they were like, no, any excuse.
Yeah.
And that's when I started really looking into, where do our tax dollars go? We also had a thing in Canada where Trudeau told us that anybody who was injured by the vaccine or any other vaccines would be financially compensated. So it was called the Vaccine Injury Support Program. Well, it was run by a company called Oxoro, and I knew that it was very sketchy. Things were going in. They had millions of dollars going into this, and nobody was being compensated. So
Really?
I did a very big global news national report where we took them right down. We took the company down. They had whistleblowers from the company saying that they were drinking at work, bringing their dogs to work every day, hiring high school students. They had a ping pong table, they had a slushy machine, and they watched Netflix all day, and that claims weren't being sorted.
I'm
So
just,
then it forced the company to go under, and the Public Health Agency of Canada took over. So
I'm
once the Public
disgusted.
Health Agency of Canada took over, every 30 days I file a Freedom of Information Act request, and it shows that they haven't even hired doctors to assess our claims.
You're kidding.
So I'm sitting here 4 years later, like this, without a cent of compensation from the government that has received millions and millions and millions. I'm talking like $111 million. But I've never seen somebody still alive that's as vaccine injured as me
I haven't either.
physically.
I haven't either,
I mean,
Kayla.
there are people that are no longer with us that are worse off than I am, and
You,
those people were supposed to be compensated as well.
you should be first
But
in line to get reviewed and get compensation.
yeah, you should. Should is not a relative term in politics, and I had to learn, literally, look up, like, really understand what the word bureaucracy means and what being stuck. I don't want to see other people stuck in the cracks. So anytime that I would see something going on with the healthcare money. For instance, I live in a province, we pay the most taxes towards healthcare than any other province, yet we spend the least amount of dollars than any other province on healthcare.
And
So
where do those dollars go?
what our what our premier Doug Ford does is he says, I'm opening a new hospital. So he came about a month and a half ago, and he opened a new hospital ground right near me, in place of the hospital where I was before. But the thing is, it all goes to his buddies who are builders. They build the new hospital, but we have no staff to support it. So what's a new building going to do? It's not the building's fault. You have to
Right.
have staff to make the building work. That's just common sense. But what
Right.
does he care? The taxpayer money got spent on building a new building, and his buddies got props off it and got some financial benefits to it, and no one cares.
Kayla, would you like Nick Shirley to come expose all this in Canada?
Absolutely anybody. Let's
Okay.
do it.
All right, let's do it.
I'm
I,
always on board.
okay.
It's Doug Ford just bought a jumbo jet. And it was millions of dollars, and the taxpayers got so mad. He said he would return it and that he would provide the receipts. We're still waiting. And then there was another scandal. It was so many scandals that mine got lost in it, because he just had scandal after scandal after scandal. And I'm like, wow, wait, like, and there's nobody else in line for election. And I'm not putting myself online. I can hardly handle my own stuff.
Right, right.
I have no interest. I had no interest in becoming a political commentator or talking politics most of my days and nights.
Well, that like me with being vaccine injured, we didn't choose this issue, it chose us, and
No, it shows us.
you're
Yeah.
going to be on whatever trajectory this is going to lead you to, and I think you're going to be very, very impactful. But we have to get you better. We have to. Do you see any improvements on the
No,
horizon?
no,
Nothing.
no, decline.
Really?
Because the longer you sit and you waste away, physiotherapy for me is $350 a week. It's not covered. I can't afford that. I can't even hardly afford my rent. How am I going to afford? I mean, I can't work anymore,
No.
obviously, and I'm now basically what MAID considers a non-contributing member of society because, I don't bring in the dollars.
So
And
is that the modern term for worthless eater from
yeah,
Germany?
yeah. Anyone who's homeless, anybody who's old, anybody who's disabled, it's almost like eugenics. Back with that, I hate to say this, I used to think people were such conspiracy theorists when they said that this is how Hitler started out.
Right.
With euthanizing people that were disabled and old and weren't contributing members to the population. And I'm like, that's ridiculous until you actually look into it and go, oh, Canada, you guys are in big trouble.
Yeah,
and you know what? You guys are too. Do you know how many states that have legal euthanasia?
I don't.
I believe it's 13 if you look it up. I think it's 13.
Wow.
That's concerning, and it's expanding rapidly.
I almost sought it out in the 1990s when I was vaccine disabled and brain damaged because I had absolutely no hope. I'd lost my job. You know what this is like. My MBA became worthless, and I didn't have a diagnosis. I didn't know what to do. And I was looking for Dr. Kevorkian. That was the only option back then, and I never found him.
To go to Switzerland?
I didn't know. I didn't have a plan. I just wanted to get in touch with him first.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And I understand why people all over Canada are thinking that this is their only. It's a type of coercion. It is,
but it can't be forced on you. That's our point here. You and I have to make the point that it cannot be forced on anyone.
Correct. And it shouldn't be offered to you.
Right.
If you seek it out, that's one thing. But offering it to me is telling me that I'm worthless and that I'm better off dead. And that's coercion.
It is. And
it's no different than the media telling us that, I was going to die from COVID because I was type 1 diabetic and that it was safe and effective, and then taking away, we weren't allowed to fly. We weren't allowed to eat at restaurants. We weren't allowed to work. We weren't allowed to, we had police in Ontario that would arrest you for having family gatherings. Meanwhile, back to Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, he got caught at his cottage having a huge Easter gathering with his family. But he had the police arresting us if our neighbor, he was telling our neighbors all in Ontario to call the police, and that the police would come, and they were arresting people for gathering out of their cohorts and things like that. And
it's so sick.
It was so wild here.
It's so hypocritical. It's rules for thee and not for me. And we saw that all over the United States, and no better exemplified
everywhere
than Gavin Newsom going to one of the most expensive restaurants in California when everybody else was locked down. These politicians are sick. They're totally sick.
It's disgusting. I don't know how they sleep at night.
We know so many of our listeners understand the relationship between health freedom and our personal and economic freedoms. It's the same principle. If you're one of our audience who's concerned about inflation, paper asset crises, and ongoing monetary crises, you may have already started accumulating gold and silver or are considering doing so. There's no gold dealer we know who's better positioned to serve the freedom community than Mish International in Menlo Park, California. I'm one of the many happy customers who's purchased gold or silver in their showroom, or I've had it delivered through their secure courier service. They are true veterans who are honest, fair, and reliable, and so knowledgeable regarding all the choices of gold and silver bars and coins to help you choose the products that fit your goals and your worldview. The principal, Robert Mish, is world-renowned for his expertise in rare coins as well. Write down this number, 650-324-9110. That's 650-324-9110. And visit mishinternational.com. That's MISH international.com to learn more about this notable company. So, Kayla, what did you think of the Canadian healthcare system before this happened?
I thought it was great because that we had free healthcare.
And now?
And at least if I had a heart attack, I wouldn't, or let's say I had a panic attack, I wouldn't lose my house because I went to the hospital. Sometimes I still think that's a blessing. I mean, I'm not in a third world country where I get no care and I'm left dying on the streets. But then I think in third world countries, they take care of their families. And in my experience in Canada, this is just from my experience, Caucasians specifically don't tend to keep their family members as they don't feel the need to continually take care of their family members. So when you look in long-term care facilities and things like that and hospitals, it's predominantly Caucasians that are in there, because other races tend to have that community, village. It takes a village to raise a child, and also the respect for their elders. You raised me, you took care of me, I'm going to take care of my family, or we're going to divide the care needs of our family members. And so the grass is always greener on the other side for all of us. I don't really know how to weigh in on that. I just know that we as a Canadian society advertise, come to Canada, we have free healthcare. Then we get all these immigrants coming here, and then we complain about all the immigrants.
Right.
So the politicians invite them all in, tell them we have all this work for them, we have free healthcare, come on in, and then they can't take care of us, but they were the ones who invited them all in.
Exactly. It's
So it's not their fault.
No,
in a lot of cases.
No, they're coming for the benefits. So Kayla, how do you pay your expenses?
Through donations, which are not coming in anymore. It seems like, obviously, we're in a recession in Canada, and I don't blame Canadians for that. I think people have just sort of heard my story, and it hits a plateau, and new news comes along, and there's always something new and exciting happening with something or someone else. And I feel like I'm really afraid. I'm really afraid. My landlord doesn't know how he's going to afford to pay his bills, for instance. And so if he sells our house, I'm going to be homeless because I need wheelchair accessibility. And we're also in a housing crisis.
Right.
I was adopted, actually. But my adopted father, he was the one that died in long-term care. I still have a relationship with my adopted mother, but she's 72 or 73 years old, and she can't take care of me. And so, it's just a situation where I worry every day, and I try not to, but I worry so much about where am I going to live tomorrow if my landlord can't pay his bills either?
Well,
where am I going to go?
I want everyone to know that you are still in need of donations until you get justice. And I really encourage everybody to help Kayla as much as you possibly can. What else would make a difference for you, Kayla? Like, what would brighten up your day? Just one day. Like, what would brighten up your day? What could people do?
I just think sharing the story, sharing with people about, like, sharing this episode, or sharing the realities of take or leave my story, do what you want with it. But there's, I've got a book coming out that goes into a lot of detail about how I made it out of that depression. And that, basically MAID was an option to me being suicidal. In fairness, that's basically what you were describing too. You just, you wanted to give up.
Yep.
That's a feeling of being suicidal. And anybody can be driven to that point, or just realizing, anybody could walk out the door and trip on their shoelaces and be literally in the same position as me.
Yep.
This is not an isolated incident. It has nothing to do with just my vaccine injury. It also has to do with how we come together and care for our community. It doesn't matter if you live in Canada, you live in Ecuador, you live in the US. It doesn't matter where you live. It's about who can you help today.
Yeah.
And even I can find ways in a wheelchair to help people. So if I can hold the door open for someone using the wheelchair button, then, you can hold the door open for someone in a wheelchair, or do something every day. Every time I see the time 9/11, I always think it's time to help somebody. What can you do to help somebody? Because that helps you too. That creates purpose. That makes the world go round. We're full of all these negative stories all the time. And, there has to be other ways through it. And the book, it talks a lot about my lowest points, and where I had to struggle with why this happened to me, or why me? And then it talks a lot about how I found purpose in what's gone on with me and how I was able to sort of do something positive with a situation that still nags on me negatively every day. Like I said, I'm worried about where I'm going to live tomorrow.
And that's not a stress you should have. That's what the government is supposed to be
Again,
for.
that's exactly. If they had come through with their promise, it's about holding them accountable. I will never stop holding them accountable. Like I said, I have a $45 million lawsuit against Moderna. It's the first lawsuit in all of North America. In Canada, we were allowed to sue. The little loophole in Canada was you could sue the vaccine companies, but if you sue Moderna for $45 million, you win $45 million, then the government pays back Moderna, meaning the taxpayers end up paying the $45 million.
Oh, stop. Really?
No. Yeah. That nobody knows that usually until they hear it from me.
Wait,
But
is this
yeah.
in some law or act that was developed
Yep.
for COVID?
Yep. That was the deal that Canada made with the vaccine companies.
Unbelievable.
Yep. Where you guys can't sue.
Right.
We can sue, but we pay the taxes on it.
Nobody knows that.
Everybody that I talked to said I'd rather my tax money went to you than funding wars.
I'm so happy that that's what people are saying.
People say that all the time. And I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter where you want your tax money to go because that's not where it goes.
Exactly. Well, Kayla, I've always said that
it doesn't matter where you live.
Everyone should be encumbered by everyone's vaccine injuries because so many people are so pro-vaccine that they're pushing vaccines on everyone. I mean, I have neighbors still trying to push vaccines on me. They bring up my vaccine status, even if it's an issue of my cat wandering into their yard. But everybody, if you think that it's a public good for everyone to be vaccinated, then you're also signing up to be encumbered by the expense and other externalities of this program. And people need to step up. If you're pro-vaccine, you owe it to Kayla and other people like Kayla to help pay their expenses.
Even if it's a 1 in a million.
Exactly. Well, and even if it's, 1 in 2. Those vaccine pushers, you're on the hook because you wanted this. You wanted this. You said these externalities, like what happened to Kayla, what happened to me, were okay. They were okay for the greater good so we could get herd immunity. So everybody's on the hook for this.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And I don't tell people what to do. I don't tell them, go get vaccinated, don't get vaccinated. I don't care. I'm about freedom of speech, freedom of choice, and transparency as far as the government's concerned and holding them accountable.
Absolutely.
If they say that they were going to do something, I'm going to hold them accountable till the day I die.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
That's all I can do.
We have a sisterhood.
And it's a lesson I want to teach my son. That, it is really difficult to grasp that one person actually can really create quite a snowball effect. Because I'm one person and this is one story, but it's created this huge snowball effect into, millions and millions and millions and millions of people that have heard the story and that are at least aware of it. Whether they take it or leave it, there's something that they've heard inside of it and they're at least aware. And awareness and knowledge that, I'm still censored. I can't say it on, YouTube. I can't say it on Facebook. I can't say it all over the place because it's misinformation or all sorts of things. If I talk about MAID, apparently it gives me a hotline saying I'm suicidal.
You're kidding.
Which is hilarious. I'm like, I'm not suicidal. I'm telling people about what happened to me. It has nothing to do with suicide. The word suicide's not in there. Wow. It's crazy, the censorship. I never would have believed it if you'd told me it anyway. Try it yourself. Make your own YouTube account, people, and try it yourself. And I have all the legal paperwork to back it up.
Yes, you do. I know you do. You're amazing. So Kayla, you're such a good communicator. You're such a good face and voice for this cause. You're beautiful. And I just want to, I think people are just still wondering one more thing, like, what is your day like? Like, how do you get up in the morning? What do you do? What do you need people to do for you? What happens if you get stuck on something? And how did you write a book? I think people really want to know that.
So for me, my day starts at 8 a.m. I usually go to bed around 11 p.m. It starts at 8 a. No, sorry, I guess my day starts at 3 a.m. I get up. I have to have my bowel checked at 3 a.m. And I then go back to sleep until 8 a.m. A worker comes in. They start getting me out of bed. It takes 2 hours by the time I have any stretches, bathing routine, teeth brushing, things like that, like just hygiene, hair washing, things like that. And then getting me dressed. I have to have someone dress me. I have to have someone apply creams to my skin that I can't see or get to or move towards. I have to have someone check things. And then I have to have help getting my breakfast because I can't use the oven or the stove, can't reach the microwave, can't reach any of the plates in my cupboards. So the rest of the day I spend all alone. So if something goes wrong, you call 911 and hope you get hot firemen. Honestly, that's
Wow.
the truth of it all.
Wow.
If there's some sort of like, let's say you had a catheter incident or whatever, you'd have to call 911 and go to the hospital. If you were to like crap your pants or something, you'd have to sit in it until I'd say about 4 p.m. when the next person comes around, and that's when you're supposed to be getting your dinner help. So if God forbid something like that were to happen, then you would not have dinner that night because you'd be spending that time for you'd be spending that time basically using it for cleanup or whatever. And then at around 10 p.m., I get put back into bed. So my day, like from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., I'm sitting in my chair and I'm alone, you know. Um, and in between, like I said, you just have to live with knowing that if something happens, you're on your own. It's like being on Survivor, except there's no $1 million prize and there's no you're on a deserted island by yourself, but it's more like jail because your surroundings don't change.
Yeah, you're in your body's prison. That's what I call
Yeah.
it. Your
And
body's
so
prison.
well, it's not just your body, but it doesn't matter how nice your walls are. There's still a type of jail if you can't exit and enter them when you want.
Right.
People take for granted the fact that they can walk to their car, get in and go somewhere, or walk down the street. I would never, don't ever take for granted anything, ever. If that's the only message you hear from me, don't take for granted cutting the grass. Don't take for granted having to clean your house. Don't take for granted going to work, even if you hate your job. Don't take for granted any of it, because if you had to be duct taped to a chair for all those hours in a day and then duct taped to your bed at night, you wouldn't take those things for granted anymore.
You sure wouldn't. You sure wouldn't.
And it's if that's all I could say or teach anybody, then like for instance, right now I'm outside, but I had to have a worker put me outside like a dog or something. Mm-hmm. And then I have to have the worker put me back inside. Wow. And I have to what would it be called? I have to organize all of the funding. So I have to receive the funding for the workers, but then I have to hire the workers. I have to pay the workers. I have to pay the bills. I have to pay the insurance. I have to pay the accountant, and I have to set all the scheduling.
How do you do all that, Kayla? Do you have any
I don't
movement
know.
in your hand?
No, I don't have anyone that supports me with that. I don't have anyone that, like any producers that set up my interviews or anything like that. It's just me, myself, and I.
Do you have any movement in your hand that allows you to use a phone?
I do have a bit of movement in my hands, okay. But I've got 2 fingers that are completely paralyzed and half of my third, so and I drop a lot of stuff. Ask my son.
Yeah, well, and then what happens? What if you drop something really important that's important for you medically?
Then too bad for me. Can't pick it up. That's why the fundraiser that's on there is for a service dog.
Yeah.
My service dog was just diagnosed with cancer. In Canada, they don't give us service dogs. You have to the programs are all with multiple year wait lists, so it costs $60,000 to $80,000 to train a service dog. It's something that they learn from birth. It's not something like it comes down to selective breeding for the right type of temperament, all the way to exposure therapy when they're younger. So those dogs are bulletproof, and they are learning things right from the moment that they are born. And so that's a big thing that I have, that I'm trying to raise money for right now. Um, it's on there.
If somebody could donate a service dog to you that has
I've
the,
got a dog ready. It's just
okay,
to training that the money goes towards.
got it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
So I just want everybody to know, I'm reiterating what Kayla says. Just never take for granted what you can do today, because you don't know if you're not going to be able to do it tomorrow. And Kayla, I want you to, are there any hopeful words you can leave us with?
I'm still here for a reason, and we are getting further within this fight. We are, I've been on magazine covers, and mainstream media is finally picking up my stories and stuff. So I believe we're a lot further off than when I started. So I do see momentum. I see it in the US too. Um, I believe that we have to take every little achievement that we can get. And even if it's just, for me, holding the politician accountable and saying, look, here's the proof. Or, just having the supporters that share my story and the people that have come together to help, like meeting these people and sharing and having a community of like-minded people. That's why your platform's grown so quickly, I believe. And so you're not alone out there, and one person can make a difference, even if it's just hitting a share button.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
So I'm not saying everyone has to, speak about what happens to them. Not everybody is able to do that or feels called to do that, and that's okay. That doesn't mean that you're not worth something to the fight.
That's right.
Just being in the community, and I don't mean literally in it, I mean of it. I think that we have to look at the little bit of progression we've made in the last 4 years. It's sometimes it seems major. I'm sure if you look at over all your years, you probably see it more now than you ever have.
Oh,
people are finally tuning into what you're saying because COVID happened.
Exactly.
So now you don't seem like the Looney Tune.
Exactly. Yeah, I always say
some of us will always say that, but
right. Well, their overreach during COVID is their downfall, because now there's more parents than ever who don't want to vaccinate their kids because they learn vaccines can be dangerous. And people like
exactly right.
You and me are loud about it. And again, just so you know, everybody, we didn't choose this issue. It chose us, and we need to do something about it. We've been chosen to do something about this. So that's why Kayla and I are out here trying to educate people before they end up in a situation like we got into. So
it's just knowing and having, it's knowing the risks that I was never presented with. And I'm sure you were never presented with them.
Zero.
There was never anyone that said, if you get your COVID vaccine, you can end up paralyzed in a wheelchair. That wasn't anything that they told me. I was told I could have a sore arm, or, have an allergic reaction, or all, the little things, right?
Right.
That was worst case scenario. No one was going to die. No, maybe you could get blood clots later on, they found out. Then they found out about the heart issues, but no one ever told me. That was way after I became vaccine injured.
Yeah, I didn't know anything.
You're right.
I'd never heard of anti-vaxxers in 1996. And
there you go. Exactly.
Yeah, it's just a complete media blackout. Still, just the alternative.
No, I understand.
Media. Yeah. So
I mean, I'd heard of anti-vaxxers, and honestly, I thought they were a bunch of crazy people. Because that's what I was led to believe.
Right.
But a lot of people don't believe that anymore, because they've known, they seem to, it's like everyone seems to know somebody who's been affected by this.
Now they really do. And every new anti-vaxxer is actually an ex-vaccinator, because we trusted the system.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't call myself even an anti-vaxxer. I got my vaccines.
Yeah.
Right? like I had to get my vaccines in order to become vaccine injured.
That's
So
right.
for me, I can no longer take vaccines because of my health.
Exactly.
I don't really like what you choose to do or what my friends choose to do. That's on them. They have the freedom of choice, but at least they know this is what happened to me with this particular vaccine. And for me, I can't have vaccines anymore because this is what's gone on. So, like you said, I mean, we had to take our vaccines to be people who don't have trust in vaccines. And now I've lost trust in like the World Health Organization, who used to be like the god of knowledge of science, and, you know, the CDC and all these things that used to be like these places that, as someone who grew up around science and medicine, I thought these were like the best of the best people. And now I realize we can't trust any of them.
Nope. Trust is absolutely gone. And that's a big problem for
Trust
public health.
is gone.
Yeah. They have a big problem. They've got to earn our trust back. And that's not going to be
Well,
easy.
and I don't think they're doing a very good job. Look at all these epidemics or pandemics or whatever you want to call them that have recently come in. First, we were going to all die of bird flu. And then after that, it was the Hana virus. And now it's Ebola. And people are just like, whatever, next.
Yeah,
it's not working.
No, it's not. It's not. And now people are making jokes about hantavirus, like how many rats apart are we supposed to stand? I mean, people just don't buy it anymore.
It's because that's all we can do.
Right.
Is laugh at them, because if we don't laugh, we're just going to start crying.
That's right. That's exactly right, Kayla. Well,
you know,
Kayla Pollock, thank you so much for coming on the Alix Mayer Show today. You are a gift to humanity. You are an inspiration to me and so many other people around you. And I just hope that people step up and continue to help you. And, you know, once we close out here, I actually have an idea of something that might really help you. And I'm going to see if I can get I can get the care done for you gratis. So thank you so much for being here.
I so appreciate you having me on, and I'm glad I was able to come on, and I really appreciate it.
We are so happy to have as our prime sponsor, Mish International, Northern California's acclaimed specialists in rare coins and gold and silver investments. Our friend and supporter, Robert Mish, is the same principal that started the company back in 1963, and he's still there every day with 63 years of experience. He has integrity, reliability, and fair pricing, whether you're buying or selling. When you have business to do with precious metals, you'll always be treated well at Mish International. Call 650-324-9110 and tell Robert that Alex sent you.